We're muted, doesn't mean we're not live.
That's, I didn't say anything. You didn't hear me say anything. I was just gonna, he stares at me one more time. Good, okay. You can speak during these recordings. All right, bring the meeting to order. Do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let's see. Keep it on speed. Okay, first up is the consent agenda. Before we go into it, anything anyone wants pulled off?
I found a discrepancy, so I'm not
Okay,
sure when
good.
to bring that up.
Yeah, well, we can bring that up when we're actually in it.
Okay.
Nothing? Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Go, Chris.
I'm sorry, who was my second?
Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 7, the Jordan agreement.
Mhm.
On page 2 for the rates. The $300 in text, but in parentheses, $325 per hour. And then the maximum of 3,600, but in parentheses, 3,800.
No, it's a-
Well, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't
It's
even
number
see it.
9.
Oh, I'm sorry, page 2, number 9. Mhm.
It just says, it spells out $300 and then in parentheses, it puts $325 per hour. The same thing above or next to it is $3,600. And
Okay,
in
so,
parentheses, it puts 3,800.
yeah, so we can pull it and have them revise it for us,
Well,
or I
or we
can just change
we can
it.
say, we'll approve it with the changes from 325 to 300.
It's three, it should be 325.
Of course.
And 38.
I tried to get that
Nice
one
try.
through quick, but, all right, so with the update to reflect both of them saying 325 and both of them saying, I assume 3,800,
Yes.
Okay.
all right? Anything else anybody wants to talk about on the consent? Good catch, Chris.
Yep, thank you for that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right. Correspondence, no one cares about us and no one writes. All right, voting, President and Vice President's report. We have as part of the New York State School Board Association, every year they put their names on, or there's a bunch of whatever you want to call it. We should push on this, we should push on that, we should push to have this shut down. There's a whole bunch of items which are in here. We send as a board, we send one person out to reflect our, what our board thinks. So I just wanted to, Howard, I don't know if you wanted to talk about this.
So as part of the board, what's been in person up till now at NISBA, the board advocacy group has a delegate, and in the past, it was John Rudy, and he passed the baton to me, and I know right now, Chris, you're the alternate, correct? Not you, Chris, but you, Chris, right, because you look confused. I think you said you were going to be the alternate. There's the primary and an alternate. All right, Cheryl, on the duties of delegate, Who's the alternate?
I don't know it off the top of my
Okay.
head, but I'll
All
look
right,
it up
all right.
on the record.
All right, thank you. All right, whoever the alternate is, all right, that's only if the primary, which is me, cannot, does not fulfill the voting. Voting used to be done after the meeting on a Saturday and late on a, what was it, Sunday, whatever day it was, at the end of the conference. And there's all kinds of propositions that Cheryl has been kind enough to forward to every board member that's in there, as well as a booklet that Nisbet, I'm sure, is sent out. I know I've seen all kinds of material. Each one has a resolution, and these are the resolutions that Nisbet had decided to accept based upon their own legislative team up in Albany, and based upon submissions from every and any board in the state. So what it means is if there was an issue that we felt should be legislatively changed through NISBA, they would adopt either resolutions. If it was an internal change for NISBA, or they would adopt taking it on legislatively as an issue. So what takes place at the business meeting, and that's basically what the delegate meeting is, it's a business meeting. They reappoint NISBA officials, and then everybody gets a little paddle, and they used to say yay, yay, yay in that, okay? And then they go through each and every resolution, and there's, I don't know, there's at least 30 of them. And then they're read first, they're posted. This year will just be online. So it'll be posted online, and then the delegate will either vote yay or nay. Now, the delegate for each board is supposed to not just say, hey, this sounds good or this doesn't. It's supposed to take input from their board, fellow board members on what, if anybody has any thoughts or objections to it. So in the past, what we've done is there's been an open window for fellow board members to read these things and then send any objections to me, being the delegate, in writing on copy everybody else, of course, on an email. So I invite anybody who wishes to read these, and it doesn't mean that NISBA is going to, again, if it's a legislative item, it's got to be taken to the legislature. And the legislature may or may not decide to try to turn it into a bill. If it's an internal NISBA resolution, then of course, if it's voted on and passes, then the NISBA constitution will technically be changed. So that's basically when it's really self-explanatory if you read one or two of them. And the support, especially the ones from fellow school boards, but maybe something that's really needed in Suffolk County may not apply to us, and we may or may not have an opinion, and we may not vote, we may abstain. Now, in between every vote, once it's read, the motion is read, just like here. Then the motion to discuss is voted upon, and then anybody that had a 30-second time limit to get up at a podium and to give a, what their view would be. So now it's all going to be on here. So if anybody has, if this board adopts, say there's 4-3, this board adopts, it feels strongly about proposition number 5. So then proposition number 5, I would then stand up and speak about that our board feels strongly that not to adopt proposition number 5 for XYZ reasons. But most of them, and most of these things they go through like on the consent agenda.
Yeah, we used to, a 3 years ago, we used to, like, you would take the full sheet and you would say, yes, no, your personal take on it as a board member. And put a little explanation, like, some of these things are very important, like funding for charter schools. There's a big, issue. I don't know if COVID gets mixed in now or not, but there are issues that are very important But what we would do is every board member did everyone, and then Howard or John would have to sit there and go, let's see, Perry said yes, and this one said no. And it was just like too much. So, if there's something you feel strongly about, vote, tell Howard what your feeling is. If not, I mean, some of these things are like, you can tell just from the wording, they're very specific to one school district. And, most people either don't care or don't want to see somebody get something, if you want to call it special, but one-off stuff being voted on, so.
Oh, correct, just to, I'm trying to think of one issue. That came up.
Before COVID was remote learning.
Yeah, that's true.
And that kept
Before
getting shut
COVID,
down.
it kept getting voted down, so, same thing. But yes, if anybody feels strongly, let me know on any of these issues. We'll pull up the issue, we'll discuss it as a board. And then we'll move on from there. However the board votes is the way I'll vote. Is not, I'm not here to, again, like, this isn't Washington where votes are not necessarily always the constituent, so. Thank you.
I did look up Howard,
Okay.
who the alternative is.
Mhm.
Chris LaBelle
Okay,
is
thank you.
Okay.
That's fine, happy.
Okay.
All right, you just have to sit there.
It's fine.
At this point, and if I notify you or that we need you, otherwise.
Sure.
I must have stepped out to the bathroom.
Okay.
Got voted in.
Right.
Yeah, well, Howard's been on the filibuster. So the other thing that I had on my section was, Paul brought up changing the meeting times, changing it to 6 p.m. and I think starting it with the executive session and then going from there. Paul, did you want to say anything?
I also had a follow-up conversation with Howard, about maybe flip-flopping some things around. I just think that I was in Wappingers for 10 years as an administrator. First of all our administrators presented first and were let to go home. They got to open buildings in the morning. We got people getting home at 1:30 in the morning. That's not a good thing. And no administrator talked to me. I'm not an administrator myself, but I'm just saying, it just seems like for a small place, we just go on and on and on and on and on. And then executive session, I can't even stay on and get to work in the morning. It's just, I don't understand it. Something is not, maybe there's too many presentations. I don't know, but something is not right. And I don't think it's really, like I said, fair to expect people to get up at an earlier hour and get to a building and take care of our kids and then be getting home so late on that end. I don't know if we can switch, like let principals go first with the presentations or limit the presentations. And then if we started at 6, we all have fresher heads. We're clearer. You're not like, rushing to get through the most important part of our job is executive session. And then we're tired. And I just think we should try it. We all say we tried it before. We never tried it really. I was on board for 9 years. We didn't try it with this board. And I'm just saying, Wappingers goes in at 6. They start at 7. If they're finished, they're finished. If they're not, they can always come back to executive session. So it was just one of my recommendations. As long as we just try to do other things to be efficient. And like I said, it seems really late. It just really, people are driving home at 1 o'clock in the morning and they're getting home at 1:30, 1:45. And then we want them to be back here by 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And I didn't speak to anybody about this. I'm speaking as myself, as a former administrator, and just to be more efficient. So I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
I mean, for me, the 6 o'clock start would be tough because, I have to get home from work. A lot of times, I just made it here barely to get here at 7. So that's a restriction on that. I think we've done better in the past few months as far as getting out. I don't think we've had anything really past 11-ish.
What was the last meeting with executive session?
It all ended up at 10:30.
Yeah, we've been ending before or right around 11 at the latest. We did have some ones, Paul, I'm not discounting that, and that was kind of, that's when we were all remote. I'm not against it, but at the same point, I can't guarantee I'd be here at 6 o'clock every time. Request a 6:30 to 7:30 and then the 7:30 board meeting start or something, do a small shift, but.
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep in mind, there's people in the private sector, not just, administrators and teachers. I mean, there are people in the private sector that work till 5:36. Well, suppose is the biggest issue the executive session, or is the biggest issue starting an hour earlier?
For me, it's the executive session. I think we're just getting to the important part of a lot of decision-making when people are like, tired and you get a negative meeting or something. I just, whatever we can do to improve the quality. I just think, we could do something.
What do you guys think about if we start the meeting at 7, but at 8 o'clock, let's see, what is it now? 20 after 8 or 20 after 7. At 8 o'clock, whatever we're doing shuts down and we go to, or maybe we say it's somewhere between 10 of 8 and 10 after 8. If we have executive session, that's when we go in. But it lasts an hour. So people are going to have to start being efficient with what they say. We're going to have to get more efficient at how many issues we can put on an executive session. But what do you guys think about that?
You can't always do that, with an executive session, put issues pop up, especially here, weekly, it seems like that make the executive session much longer. 6 o'clock for me is a problem. But I think the main issue here is we schedule too many presentations. If we only had one presentation scheduled, we should be able to get to executive hopefully by 9:30 the latest. Because if we just did business and not had so much presentations, I spoke to a former president from Marlborough Central District that said they only did one presentation. They also had a rule, and that has to be a board rule, that if anything went past either 10:30 or 11 o'clock, no matter where it was shut down. That's something the board has to decide. But to limit,
So you would table the agenda, let's say we get to 10:30, you table the agenda till the next time?
I don't like cutting people off. We're dealing with a lot of issues. I personally don't like cutting off and saying.
Other districts also have 2 board meetings and 2 workshops. So I don't know whatever happened to that with workshops, and I don't know why maybe that will help. 2 regular board Yep. 2 board meetings a month and 2 workshops a month. Someone should poll the other districts and see if they do that. Maybe that'll help and cut through some of the, I'm just saying 2 and 2, 2 regular board meetings, 2 workshops.
So we have basically 4 meetings a month.
Yep.
Question is, would you prefer to stay an hour later or
Yeah.
have 2 additional meetings?
Right.
It's a no-win. The problem with.
Well, listen, why don't we just try first what Howard said and try to do it, Perry, with limiting the presentations and just getting the administrators out as early as we can, Like if we have a guy coming, like our attorney, we had the architect come last time. And I know he's got a far ride too, but maybe let the principals go first or, administrators go first. Of course, Laura has to stay. I'm sorry about that, Laura, but let the administrators go unless we need them. And then, work it like that and try that first before we adjust any times, Let's see if we can do that.
All right.
I personally like the discussion towards the end because then it gives a chance for the public to get all of the information we're getting out and not having to wait and come back and miss something.
When we did try this before, where we started the meeting, I don't remember if it was earlier or if it was just starting with executive session. We would go, if you have 3 big issues in an executive session, it's gonna go an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that meant the public had to sit, actually, the public has to get out of the room and go, hang out in the hallway and then wait for 2 hours and then come back. We can just, we can start cutting this stuff down. The problem is, we're just, I don't know, we're just not gonna get through it, I guess. But we can start like trimming things out. Anyway, all right. So are we
Well,
saying?
thank you guys for suggestion. Yeah, leave it the same. And then, like I said, if we can just be considerate of it and make a note like of, to ourselves, just to say, if Caroline's finished and we don't need her, I know sometimes we need her, sometimes we need everybody there, but the principals too, like, whatever they can do. And then, anybody's presenting from a company or something, maybe they could go after, and then we can get our people home earlier.
Okay,
So thank you,
All right.
Paul, for bringing it up, and also don't lose sight that the board members are all volunteer. And it's really unfair to us to be staying till 11:30, 1 in the morning, like the past board. It just gets to be really unfair, and I personally understand Paul's position. If more people had to leave early in the morning and travel like Paul does, thank you for bringing it to attention.
And
Paul.
listen, but Chris has a good point though, too. We have gotten better. I mean, listen, the times have been better, so you gotta look at both. And it's not just for me, self-serving for me. I just have been in other places and I know it doesn't go like this. I was at Haldane, same size as us. I was in Wappingers. I'm down in Tuckahoe. The Tuckahoe board meeting last night was 45 minutes. Work session, 45. So I don't know, I don't know. It's okay. Let's see how it goes. But thank you guys for listening.
all right.
Thank you, Perry. Thanks, Perry.
No problem. I don't know what this says.
Oh, in our policy, it says that the board's to vote, has to vote if you go beyond 10 o'clock.
I believe that's what the policy.
It's the current policy.
If the board meeting goes beyond 10, we have to
Yeah, I
vote on it.
believe you have a time limit on that policy. I'll pull it for you tomorrow and email it to you.
Okay, well, there you go.
Not a lot of votes to make that.
Howard, do you have anything?
No, I think it's covered now.
Okay. Superintendent report?
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Just a couple of shout outs to our principals and their teacher teams for the outstanding job on the open houses. The secondary parents followed their children's schedule. The Alden parents were in the all-purpose room and teams of teachers came in and presented. And then for Elm, parents sat in their child's desk and learned about what a day in the life looks like for an Elm student. And I saw many of you there at some and all. And I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Tom, about those open houses, or you wanted to talk about your experience in open houses.
From my standpoint, I was really surprised at the volume of people, what a turnout. We had about 115 parents there. And the next week later in the middle school was just, you couldn't get a parking spot up there. It was so full. So way to go, parents.
Yeah.
I think we all missed it from, the one year that we weren't able to come in. And then you've got the parents that are new. It was really nice to, like I was saying, how my daughter last year, I never met her teacher in person until the last day when they did the parent pickup. So just to see them in person, I thought was great. The specials teachers, because there's is there two new ones?
Yes.
And the music teacher. So it was nice to see, because your kids come home and talk about them. And it's nice to see them in person. So I thought it was great. I was happy to be there.
It was nice to see MEF and PTO there as well. So good to see people in person overall. And just a noted beautification happening there. I don't know if you noticed the blazer sign on the upper level of the middle school. Blazers is spelled out over the windows. Looks super nice. And then we also have the front landscaping here. So that was a collaboration between the facilities team and the superintendent's office personnel. Thank you, Cheryl. And then the signage was Principal Cabello, the facilities team, and our athletic director, Al Hamill. So lots of collaboration happening and making our campus look more beautiful each day. There are no updates at this time regarding an interim position. So I will keep you updated. There was an inquiry, but it'll be a continued conversation at the end of the week. COVID-19 updates. ever changing. So at this moment in time, we have 15 positives, COVID positives. We have 48 close contacts since the beginning of school started. And then currently we have 13 students or 13 students in quarantine, and they'll be receiving tutoring. Many just came out of quarantine, and then added 13 today. So Caroline's been doing a great job with her team in making sure that there are tutors assigned to our students who are not here in school. And just a reminder that contact tracing, when we quarantine people, it is 10 days. That's the local health department guidance. I know on the CDC website, and maybe the Department of Health says 14, but we're working directly with the local. And students and staff must quarantine. You can't test out. So I just want to be clear about that. The administrative team has been working on developing a dynamic and engaging superintendent's conference day, which is on October 12th. And it's going to include lots of different kinds of trainings and professional development, including Orton Gillingham, that's a continuation. Curriculum mapping is also a continuation, data tracking, CPR, and first aid. There are also teacher run sessions as well around social emotional and around certain like Google mild, Google medium, and then we'll have a Google spicy at some point. YouTube, and was there a Canva training as well, I think. So those will be interesting, especially since they're teacher run and administrative run. I did want to highlight the helmets that the board agreed to loan to Pine Plains, 8 helmets for their football team, and Rye City, we loaned 40 helmets. So they were so appreciative of our help. And it's just for this year because we don't have a football team. We merged with Dover. We have our survey postcards. They didn't go out on Monday. They're going to go out tomorrow. And that's around the gazebo. So we'll get some information as to what the community thinks we should be doing with our gazebo that's located at Elm. And then lastly, I was able to finally attend in person a NISCUS conference last week. It was just nice to see colleagues in person, to sort of team build, bond, share our war stories and our successes. And then there were lots of good informative sessions that were offered that I attended. So it was just nice to get out and learn about advocacy and self-care. I learned that I'm not good at balancing my work and life. I don't think that's a surprise for anybody. And creating cultures of caring and high expectations. So it was a very good conference, and I thank you.
Okay, very good.
Laura, just want to say 2 things. Rye City was very appreciative. Eric Byrne, that superintendent, I used to work with his wife. She was like, they were like over the moon. And Susan DeLula, the athletic director there, is also the chairwoman for Section 1 football. They couldn't believe that you guys were able to pull that off. And I want to thank, our leadership and our attorneys and everybody else who was involved in that, because that was a major thing to do. So thank you.
And we got a call from Pine Plains, from one of the board members in Pine Plains, thanking us for going out of our way to make that happen. So thanks to everybody. All right. Elm Drive principal report.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
I have a bunch of great things to mention. So I asked around for other buildings as well. So I'm going to start with the middle school topics real quick, because the middle school just submitted their redesignation for schools to watch. That's a big one for us. And so we're hopeful, according to Mr. Cabello, we're hopeful that our efforts during the pandemic and beyond will earn us a second designation as the schools to watch. And Mr. Carbone obtained a grant for geocaching, and that's an outdoor recreation activity in which participants use global positioning system, receiver, or mobile device and other navigational techniques to hide and seek containers called geocaches or caches at specific locations marked by coordinates all over the world. Joe's been collaborating with teachers to include grade level cross-curricular vocabulary in this cool, engaging outdoor activities. So that's pretty exciting too. Also, they, while students wait for clubs and athletics to start up, they've started a student study hall at the middle school. At the end of the day, for students to complete assignments and relax and have a snack before that activity. At Alden Place, we started robotics last week. It's pretty exciting, and Elm and Alden have book fairs happening at Alden now, next week on Drive. So we're excited by that. Our all of our buildings are starting what's called the Yale Ruler course. So social and emotional learning activity teams from each building are taking part. That starts Thursday, I believe, for us. And let's see what else. I do want to say that all of our buildings are also completing, working on IXL, that's benchmark testing that we do 3 times a year. This is our initial diagnostic test that we're working on kindergarten through 12. And I think that's what I have for the most part. Thank you.
All right. Elliot, you're up.
Oh, actually, it's me, just a
Oh.
quick, but please chime in,
Okay.
facilities committee
So we had
and
a
Elliot.
chance to pick on Elliot. and
You
nothing.
can, I can hand it over to him. This was just a, it's a permanent item in our agenda, just make sure that our eye is always on it and moving forward. So just to review that Elliot during the September 7th board meeting presented a draft timeline for a future capital project. And so in September, the first item was for the Board of Education to provide a conceptual authorization for district administration to comprise and issue an RFP for architectural and engineering services. And then in October, we were to publish an RFP for architectural and engineering services and give a 30-day window. And then deadlines for formal written questions and responses would also occur in October, as well as public posting of answers to all received RFP questions.
So in the future, if we can just use the same one you would use every time, right? Here's my schedule, ding, ding, ding. So in September, I showed you where we did it, we didn't do it, we missed it by 3 days. Here's October, we're there, we're here, we're there. That way, you know, as we talked before, keep these more efficient. We can just look at it, go, okay, we're way behind, what's going on, or everything's cool, good, right? That's, you know, hopefully we can start getting those kind of presentations.
Yes, and I think that's part of the conversation is identifying the point person. And that is going to require organizational and personnel discussions and implications.
Okay.
So it's really just to revisit the timeline and the importance of that point person so that we can actually start implementing the timeline that has been drafted.
I'd just like to start in all these things. And we sort of go over this. I'd like to see, you know, here was the thing I originally presented to you. The next time you present, I don't want to see something completely different. I want to see that same thing updated. So I see version 1 now says yes, no. And I'm not sitting there going, well, wait a minute, version 1 was down here on this one. And oh, I see we got rid of the version numbers. What happened here? You know, if we're going to try again to become more efficient, we've got to do things like that. Even like we've said before, documents. As we review these documents, they should go under change control. We should see version 1.2. We should see the notes. We should see the changes by who. And then when we're cool with it, we say accept changes, and now we have the current version. Otherwise, we spend hours trying to figure out what are we talking about. Okay. So basically, we're on target.
I would say we're still on target to get the RFP out this month, depending on what happens later this evening,
Okay.
and going forward. The only thing is we may not, given the timeline of board meetings, it may be a first meeting in January award.
Yeah.
If for some reason the holidays jam us up, the most important thing is to honor the integrity of the RFP response window and make sure that we respond to any inquiries fairly to all applicants.
Well, Paul wants us to meet every week, so we should, this thing should not be a problem.
If Mr. Tobin is volunteering to help us comb
Yeah,
through
yeah.
the proposals, that might help the process a little bit.
All right, all right.
You're muted, Paul.
So,
Probably. He's.
What's going on? We
I-
didn't hear you.
I read your lips, don't say that in public. So when are we going to talk about, we'll talk about the assignments or whatever, is that an executive session?
Personnel,
Okay.
correct.
All right, anything else?
I said, Elliot, I didn't recognize you. I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? You're melting away, Elliot.
Hey, sir.
Yeah, that was it. It's just like we want to adhere to the timeline.
Okay.
And get that point person, so we can start moving.
Okay. Do I have a motion on, next is new business, do I have a motion on the resignation? Accepting the resignation? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, talk more about personnel later. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right, accept the MEF donation. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thanks, Paul. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion other than thank you very much, MEF, once again?
Yes.
you.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? All right. Questions from the public?
Yes. We have a question from Pamela McCarthy. Persons, when will formal scheduled AIS begin and why wasn't it started as soon as school started in September? And that is our only question.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's.
I could answer some of that.
Okay.
So formal AIS was replaced by using MTSS program, and the MTSS program involves developing a personalized learning plan for each of our kids, whether they're performing lower or right at or approaching the regular level at grade level or above grade level. And so we're in the process of doing that, identifying our kids at this point. And so during the month of October, our students will be placed at different levels and they'll be receiving more intense instruction for the rest of the year.
Did it go out to the parents that this change was being made?
I believe so.
Okay.
It's maybe, it's difficult to understand what it actually says though. And so yeah. All right.
Maybe we could reach out. I didn't catch the name, but maybe we could reach out. Anything else, sir?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, request for future agenda items. I do have one, actually three, but I want to wait till the executive session to talk about what they are. Well, anyway, we'll wait till the executive session. Anybody else? All right. Do I have a motion to go to executive session for the purpose of whatever it says?
Perry, I didn't take my arrhythmia medication today. Don't do this to me. You get me really pumped up here. It's, what time is it? Come on, man.
Well, we can wait till 8:30. It's not scheduled. And if you want.
We got a lot done between 7 o'clock and 7:10 when you joined us.
Yeah. I tell you what, he's always got a digging, boy.
Yeah, I'll teach you to start that stuff during the week.
You know, someday you're gonna miss me when I'm gone, not from life, but from the meetings.
All right, do a motion? Do a second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any against? All right. All right, let's see.
Hold on one second, please.
Yeah, first.
Yeah, no,